This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
Today on CityCast Denver. Sales tax revenue is down, and Denver is looking at a projected $250 million budget shortfall. The city is facing hiring freezes, furloughs, and layoffs. Is there a way to dig Denver out of this financial hole? Adeeb Khan is the executive director of the Denver Economic Development and Opportunity Office, which means it's his job to implement the mayor's big, vibrant strategy for saving the Mile High. Today is Wednesday, June 4th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Adeeb Khan, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Thanks for having me.
So the 16th Street kickoff party was this past weekend, and it seems like it was a big success. How are you feeling?
I feel great. I think everyone who was there feels great. It was an amazing weekend. We had great weather. It was awesome to see so many Denverites and people from around the region, downtown having a great time, so many local businesses, pop-up vendors, so many great events. It was awesome.
Do you think it's like a foreshadowing of things to come, or how did you feel about it in sort of like the bigger picture of 16th Street in the future?
I see our picture and vision for downtown Denver of being one that is inviting for our residents, is inviting for visitors, our daily business workers, that has a great vibe, great atmosphere. I think it showcased the improvements that have been made to 16th Street really well. Being able to have a lot of patios that were newly opened, having people out there having a meal, having lunch, dinner, enjoying the shade from the trees, all the new planters that are now planted. We see flowers. It's terrific. It's a terrific public space, and seeing people embrace it and utilize it for what it is was awesome.
Let's sort of pull back and look at Denver as a whole. And when the mayor talks about making Denver, quote, vibrant, what does vibrant mean to you in the Economic Development Office?
Well, I think this weekend was a good example of vibrancy. I mean, when I see folks out there with big smiles on their faces, engaging, shopping, having a good time, wanting to stay longer than they anticipated, wanting to come back the next day, that is vibrancy. And when I was walking around 16th with my 2 older kids, that's exactly the feeling I got of like, this is a definition. We can talk about it, I think, a lot in terms of what it means, but when you see it, you know what it is. And it means it's a great place to be, that is engaging, that people love, and that is drawing people in to be part of it.
So what's the plan here? How do you take that idea of vibrancy that you saw in one particular part of the city and make that something, like what is that in action in Denver, vibrancy?
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm a person who really loves this city and loves the place. I think there's a term out there called topophilia, which is a love of place. And it's actually something we look at in the economic development world because it has strategic economic development outcomes. When our people love our place, they're more invested, they volunteer more, they spend more time in it, they're voting more for the things they want to see. And so generally across the city, I think nurturing that love of place is something that is good for the growth of Denver, the investment in Denver, the care that our citizens have in Denver. So I think just conceptually, philosophically, I think we want to achieve that. And then I think as we look at places like downtown, for example, and how do we create that love of place of downtown that's going to draw more folks in? With the moniker that has been established for 16th Street going forward, it's really about the Denver way. And
I have to ask you, I'm a hardcore Denverite too. I love the city. I don't know if I quite understand what the Denver way is.
And I think it's going to be what we make it. And I think that's a huge part of it. And so for our people, our businesses, it's an opportunity for us to showcase the best of Denver, the things that make Colorado a great state, the things that make Denver a great city, and be able to showcase that in our downtown area. I have visitors who come in all the time from out of town, and they're like, where should I go to see? And for me, I want to be able to say 16th Street is that place where we have a tremendous amount of representation of our great businesses, our local businesses, our unique flavors, our unique restaurants, and have those downtown, our unique retailers. We don't necessarily want to go to a place that's a bunch of national chains. And so I think part of what the Denver way is our businesses, our local establishments, our local employees, and our local retailers really showcasing our unique businesses, our unique culture. And so for me, it's really about that piece of it. And so we work really hard to bring in local businesses, to recruit those businesses, to offer incentives for those businesses to be able to open up on 16th. And we spent a lot of time doing that. The mayor and I have held a couple of different sessions with about 75 local businesses, specifically saying, we can show you all the different vacant properties. We have a number of grants we can offer. We have some incentives we can offer. We have our express permitting program. And we want you guys to think about downtown. And if we can de-risk that as much as possible, that's what we're here for.
What have businesses told you of why they aren't thinking about downtown?
Well, I think we've seen an increase in that consideration. I think historically what we've heard from businesses where they were waiting for the fences to come down. They're
around the construction along the mall.
Around the construction. It's a risky proposition to try and start up and open when you don't know fully what to expect. And there's not necessarily an impetus saying you have to be here now because we have 27% vacancy on 16th. And so for folks who are business people, it's saying, how can we minimize our risk in thinking about investing into the new 16th? And part of that is waiting and seeing what happens. And now that we've seen an uptick in businesses where the blocks have been open, where we've had the opportunity to have this kickoff weekend, where we've been able to showcase to folks what is possible, we are seeing an uptick in interest. We've got 6 new leases that are in the pipeline, really terrific businesses.
Local businesses?
We're working directly with local businesses on some master lease opportunities to be able to house many local businesses, much like what we saw this weekend where we had 70 local vendors up and down 16th. We want to be able to create spaces where we can have many local vendors who may not be able or be ready for a full store, be able to open up in a smaller capacity. We did this during the pandemic with our Pop-Up Denver program. And so we also want to be able to facilitate some of that.
So which businesses are coming? Can you name names?
No, I cannot.
You can't?
Yeah,
Okay.
not with the process. We've got to wait till they're ready to publicly announce. But we did see some of them showcasing that they were coming soon. So right there at 16th and Glenarm, Sunday Ice Cream, the Artisan Ice Cream Factory will be opening a very large location where you can actually see the ice cream being made in the windows. It's kind of an experience on top of being a tremendous ice cream shop. And on top of that, we saw signage up from Otraves, who's going to be reopening in July. They're expanding their space, which is kind of right across the street. And we've had a number of other folks who have either signed the lease or are near signing the lease that are currently in the process.
So I want to ask you about something that one of your colleagues said recently. This is a quote from Bill Mosier, who's running the Downtown Development Authority. And he said, quote, "Denver last decade was like a little darling child that the rest of the country allowed to ride a gravy train coming out of the Great Recession. Everyone thought Denver was cool, but the free ride that popularity provided is over. Denver needs to stop being so precious and call on the scrappy brawler that allowed it to survive these past crises." What does that mean to you?
One, I love Bill Mosier. Part of it is for those sentiments. He's absolutely right. Denver has definitely rested on its laurels of being a great place that naturally draws in folks. And we've seen that have an effect across the board. It's not just in our economic growth as a city, but in terms of like our education. I think you've maybe heard of the Colorado Paradox, for example, where we naturally, because we're a great place to live, we have a high quality of life, we have the mountains, we draw in a high number of college graduates who are imported talent into Denver. But we still struggle in terms of developing our own talent. And that will have an economic effect in the long run. And we cannot rely on that importing of talent. Coupled with that is when you're importing all of those folks, it leads us to, I think, a lot of the affordability issues that we're facing right now, where we have an influx of people who want to move here, and we don't necessarily have the capacity to be able to build, especially around things like housing. And so for us as a city, one of the characteristics we also want to be known for is our resiliency. And that means that we as a people, as a collective group of businesses, as community leaders, we need to come together and solve problems, because there's never been a city that has grown dramatically like we have and not face a number of issues. And so for us, it's about being creative, being solution oriented. When we think about us being able to draw in businesses, Denver and Colorado, in terms of our business incentives, it's not something that we're known for necessarily, of offering the highest number of business incentives out there. Whereas other states who don't have many of the things we have to offer that naturally draw in businesses and grow, they will offer more cash, more incentives to be able to draw in. Like you look at Texas, they offer large scale incentives. That's never really been our practice, but it might be something as we move forward that we just have to reconsider, because we have to compete, and we have to compete if we're going to try to grow the city.
This episode is brought to you by the Denver Botanic Gardens. The new exhibit, Bluegrass, Green Skies, American Impressionism and Realism at Denver Botanic Gardens, opens Saturday, June 7th and runs through September 14th. The exhibit features idyllic landscapes, urban scenes, and intimate interiors of 19th century American Impressionist painting. The exhibit features artists like Mary Cassatt, Child Hassam, and William Wendt. Also, perfect time of the year. It's not too hot yet. Go check it out. Do a little air-conditioned wander through this gorgeous gallery. Step outside, look at some beautiful flowers, take in the landscape, forget you're in the middle of the city. Hello. Wander back in and spend a lot of money in the gift shop like I'll be doing. Also, I love their cafe. Offshoots, delicious food. I'm going to spend all day there. Find out more and get your tickets today at botanicgardens.org. That's botanicgardens.org.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
So moving back to sort of the downtown conversation, the Denver Post reported that Mayor Johnston, quote, has a large block-by-block map of 16th Street pinned on the wall in his circular office. He uses it to track reconstruction and chart updates on leasing activity at vacant storefronts, which you had mentioned. I imagine you've stood in front of that map with him many times. What do those conversations look like?
Yeah, and he'll joke that, and it's serious, that the size of the map reflects how much time that downtown and 16th Street take up in his thinking. It is crucially important. It is something that we put a lot of time and attention towards. And yes, we've stood in front of it. We look at it. We think strategically about how we can achieve the outcomes that we all have regarding the vision that we painted earlier. And so for us, it's just about, in order to get the goal done, in order to have a vision of a vibrant, amazing 16th, it's going to take us all putting a lot of time, energy, and effort towards it, working overtime, having conversations. I can't tell you how many retailers, for example, that I've reached out to personally, whether I have their email or not, trying to hit them up on LinkedIn, the kind of stores I'd like to see in Denver, and just directly, personally trying to call somebody, reach out to them, recruit them. And so it's really about finding ways to get to the solution and putting our minds together and being creative, thinking about what programs, what resources can we put in place to achieve those goals, which partners do we need to reach out to, how do we solve the issues that we're seeing around 16th. And I feel like we're making good progress and that we've been able to see some of the success. And I think a lot of that was seen this weekend.
So again, I know you've mentioned this 30% of the retail space on 16th Street directly is vacant. I'm also just thinking about other parts of the city that are maybe struggling too. I mean, Colfax is the most obvious that comes to mind, as BRT construction has made it a bit of a struggle for some of the businesses there. Or I don't know, why the hyper focus on 16th Street when maybe other parts of the city need help too?
I will say that our focus on 16th is not at the detriment of other parts of our city. I spend much of my time in community meetings in neighborhoods across Denver. I'm in Cherry Creek just in this next week. talking to their business community, and I've been there a number of times. It's not because they're necessarily struggling as a market.
I was going to say, I feel like they're doing much better.
They're doing
than
great,
downtown.
but our job as city officials is to represent every aspect of the city, and it's also to listen to the concerns that they have. And so we spend time across the city. I think 16th Street and downtown get a lot of publicity, which is why it ends up being a topic of conversation like the one we're having here. But there's also some fundamentals that are really important. The area where we've seen the biggest hits are on 16th and our downtown. And so when we look at downtown's economic output and the amount it contributes to the overall income of the city and our revenue, that decrease of about 3 to 4% from where it was pre-pandemic is significant. It ends up being somewhere in the range of $30 to $45 million a year. And as we're facing, budget issues at the city, then we have to be able to know that our biggest and best bets are within our downtown area. It's also an area that we've invested heavily for years. I mean, when we think about like our public transit system and RTD, that has all been built and centered around our downtown core. And Fast Tracks is a $7 billion plus project. So we've made significant investments. And what we have to do is maximize those dollars and the investments we have made by ensuring that we're doing everything we can to maximize the economic output of our densest urban core. And, so many people will say, as the region goes, as downtown goes, the region goes, as 16th Street goes, downtown goes. And so I think for us, we understand that this dense urban core is absolutely critical to the overall success of not only the city and county of Denver, but the region as a whole.
Speaking again on the vacancy conversation, we've talked a few times on this podcast about the idea of a vacancy tax on property owners who are not lowering the prices in these retail spaces to make them more attractive. What do you think about a vacancy tax?
It's an interesting idea. I don't have the analysis to understand how effective it is in achieving the results. I have raised it and have looked at some with our team just to understand, as we do with every option that's available, of how do we get to achieving that goal. Again, going back to brainstorming and putting our minds together. So without understanding fully the data of how effective something like that can be, I can't speak to something being a good idea or a bad idea. I just am saying that we are looking at everything in order to how we can achieve the outcomes that we're hoping for as a city.
So retail's one thing, but I think the bigger conversation we're hearing a lot about in the last couple of months and even the last couple of years is empty office buildings. They've been empty. Why aren't building owners lowering the prices on those to get tenants interested?
It's a good question. Do you have any ideas on why they're not lowering the prices?
I'll tell you, we are in one of those office buildings every week, and it is they've upgraded it. It's beautiful. It's got a coffee shop. It's got a beautiful garden mezzanine. People still, we enjoy the hybrid work schedule here at CityCast, and it's invaluable. I could maybe see why it's hard, but I'm also not a building owner, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Downtown, upper downtown specifically, it's really formulated around dense commercial office space. And as we think about downtowns in general, if you have that concentration of dense commercial office space, it has emerged post-pandemic that is probably not a healthy market. And so there's going to be challenges. We're seeing those challenges right now. And many downtowns are facing similar challenges. And so I think we have to think about one, creating a better experience downtown. I think that is fundamental. We're seeing offices not just completely vacate and say we're not going back to the office, but they're moving to other parts of town where maybe the experience is more enhanced. And so for us, if we can create the kind of experience we all want to see downtown, then we believe that's fundamental to be able to luring in more folks to come back to the office, spend more time downtown, feel safer downtown, which I think is going to be one of the pillars for us to achieve a decrease in vacancy. Market conditions will naturally, I think, help us achieve some of those goals over time. And then I believe also we need to think about having a more diverse mix. We can't have strictly dense commercial office space. I think that in this post-pandemic world, that's probably not as effective as having a more diverse mix. And in Denver specifically, this is absolutely needed. When you look at a lot of our peer cities, the population in their downtowns is usually north of 10% of their total city population. In Denver, we're only at 4.6% of our population resides in downtown. So naturally, we're kind of lagging. And we're doing it in a time when, we are lacking affordable housing.
I was going to say, I feel like affordability is the biggest issue here for bringing folks downtown who maybe do want to live down there but can't afford it.
Yeah, and we just continue to think creatively. I met some folks out of the country who have some innovative ideas around maybe how you can do some of that adaptive reuse and do it around micro units and, be able to utilize the space. It's just a huge challenge. And almost everybody will tell you it's extremely costly to the point where it's prohibitive. And so, but we have to consider and be innovative. I believe there are solutions that exist. We have to continue to explore it. And the good news is we have the Downtown Development Authority, which can provide some of those dollars to maybe make something that wouldn't work in a normal market condition, potentially pencil and be able to come to fruition. And I think we're seeing some of that. I mean, look at the building on 633 17th. I think that sold for $3 million recently, and their hope is to put 700 units into that building. And so there's opportunities, and when we work together across sectors, I think we can achieve that long-term vision.
What's one thing about downtown that you love that you think people are just not getting or forgetting about or not seeing?
Well, if folks have not seen 16th Street as it is today, I would encourage you to do it because I love the planters, the trees, the new lights that have been installed. Everything about just that beautiful open public space to me is something I fell in love with a long time ago. I mean, I first came to Denver. I lived in rural Wyoming, so I'm like a regional small town kid, right? Who came down to Denver when I was like 15 or 16. And we came down, Nike Town, Virgin Record Store, tons of people.
All on the mall, or on 16th Street in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Right. And, it had a vibe to it that just drew me in. And I kind of fell in love with Denver. I had spent time in a number of other cities. I went to college in LA. LA's downtown was very different. And, wanted to be part of that. And my first job was downtown right there at the Palomino restaurant on 16th and Arapahoe. I lived in the Denver Dry building and just have always loved this place. And a lot of the fundamentals I think people have forgotten are 100% still true today. We have the second largest Denver performing arts complex that draws in 800,000 visitors every year. Our convention center traffic, 500,000 people come a year. Our sports teams, we have 6 million people coming to those sports games and having Coors Field and having our ball arena and, all of those things within a short walk of our downtown environment. I think Coors Field is ranked the third best walkable stadium. So I'm
just laughing because we know that people love to party there, and it's not because of the Rockies.
It's not because of the Rockies, unfortunately. But it's a great environment. And, I think Lodo is still that. Many of our establishments on 16th, we've actually had some great new places open up in Republic Plaza if you haven't been there. So I would encourage folks just to, one, see some of the new businesses that are, see 16th, come and check it out, go to a show, be able to go to Union Station, which is awesome, and go to the fountains, take your kids there. They'll love to play in it. So there's just a lot to really love. Come to Civic Center Eats at Civic Center Park. It's a great space and it's beautiful, and it's something that's meant to be enjoyed.
Well, Adeeb, thank you so much. This was great. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell the owner of a vacant office building about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See ya. Big, vibrant strategy. Okay.